Okay, so then we will try to move on to talk about section D, which is the structure question of the last year final exam. Okay, so we can see that, okay, first questions we are asking about the total magnifications. So for the total magnifications, how can we find out the total magnifications? In this case, we need to times, okay, the IPs and also the objectives. So how can we times it? Okay, for the IPs, in fact, it is 5 times. Then in this case, we need to times the 10 times, which is the objectives. Then in this case, the total magnification, then in this case, it would be 50 times. Okay, so this would be the total magnification of the light microscope. Then in this case, how can we draw or how can we know the image that he observed? Then we can just simply turn, okay, uh, turn the paper, the textbook, okay, uh, to 180 degree. Then in this case, we just simply flip it. Okay, we just simply flip it. Then in this case, we can see that in fact the P will somehow change into like a D. Okay. Then next, okay, what will happen to the image if it moves to the slide to the left? So as we notice that when we try to move the slide to the left, okay, to the left, then in fact this means that the image should be in reverse. Okay, so in this case, it would be the image will move to the move to the right. Okay. Then next, okay, so he also observed that, okay, another slide of cell Y. So we can see that the cell Y, in fact, it do have two things. First, it will be the cell wall and also the choroplast. So in this case, so just two reasons why cell Y is not an animal cell, because it do consist of cell wall. Okay, so because it do got cell wall, so therefore it must be a plant cell. Okay, it must be a plant cell. So apart from that, okay, it do contain choroplast. Okay, it do contain choroplast. So as it do contain choroplast, in fact, okay, the choroplast it contain chlorophyll. So it is some green pigment. And we notice that in fact for the plant cell, only the green plant cell will contain the chloroplast. Okay, only the green plant cell will contain the chloroplast, while the other plant cells it would not contain the chloroplast. So only the green plant cells will contain the chloroplast. Okay, so with these two appearances or with these two structure, then we can identify that it is not a type of animal cells. So apart from that, so what will be any structure that is missing? Then in fact, we can see that from the pictures, there is no any nucleus, no any nucleus. So in this case, okay, in fact, for the nucleus, it would be we can see that there is no any nucleus in the middle or in the side part of the cells. But so in this case, as it do not have the nucleus, okay, but doesn't mean that it. I mean, as we cannot see the nucleus, but it doesn't mean that it do not have the nucleus. It still have the nucleus, just we did not observe it, okay, or we could not see it, okay. Then in this case, what will be the function of the nucleus? In fact, it control the cellular function. Okay, the cellular function. The cellular function. So as it control the cellular function, so therefore it is similar to the brain of our human. Okay, so it control all the activities, uh, 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 all the works or all the things, okay, happens inside the cells. So sorry, it's not the cellular function. It should be the cellular activities. Sorry, my bad. So, and then for question number 2, okay, we can see that John and Cindy, they are a twins. So they are now at the stage of puberty. So in this case, state the type of twins that John and also Cindy belongs to. So definitely it, because we can see that the gender is different. The gender is different. Okay, so it is a female and this would be a male. Okay, for John. So in this case, based on the gender is different, then this means that, okay, they are definitely a non-identical twins, non-identical twins. Okay, so as they are non-identical twins, so they are they are born, okay, through they are made up by two sperm and also two ovum. So in this case, what does this mean? This means that the ovary, okay, both sides of the ovary, it releases the ova. So in this case, there would be two ova in a row, okay, during the ovulations. So accidentally or luckily, there is two sperm successfully get into these two ova. Then in this case, we will form the non-identical twins. So in this case, they are made by two different cycles, so they would be genetically not identical. Not identical. Okay. Then next, okay, suggest one secondary sexual characteristic that appear in both John's and Cindy's body. Okay, so definitely the first one must be there will be hair. Okay, hair found or grow better. Okay, grow in not the public area but the pubic area. Okay, and also the armpits. Okay, so as okay they are in different gender, but they both have the same secondary characteristic. They both have the same secondary characteristic. Okay. Then what will be the secondary characteristic that is different? So in fact, we will notice that one of the secondary characteristic that is different would be the beard is grow on the face for the John, or the larynx become larger in size, or the voice become deeper. These will be some of the example or the secondary sexual characteristic that only appear in male, but not in female. So in this case, maybe I just choose one of it. The beard, okay, will grows on face. So what is the substance responsible for the changes in their body in B? So in this case, this is caused by the sexual hormones, okay, the sex hormones. So in this case, the sex hormones are very important. So in fact, it can trigger the development of the, hormones. Okay, it can trigger the, uh, it can trigger the development of the sexual the reproductive system, both male and also females. Okay, so in this case, sex hormones is really important for the development of the systems. Okay, so when we receive a high levels of sex hormones, then in this case the body will try to develop of it. Okay, and for example, some of the sex hormone will control, okay, the ovulations and also control the mature of the ova. Okay, next, okay, food is kept in the thermal bag during the food delivery to keep the food warm. So the aluminum foil is a reflective material that can reflect the heat back to the food. Reflect the heat back to the food, then in this case, what will be the process of the heat transfer? Then in this case, the heat transfer, in that it would be definitely the radiations, okay? Because we are talking about some reflective materials, okay? Reflective materials, then in this case, it must be related to the radiation. It must be related to the radiations. So why is the shiny material used in the inner surface? So in this case, why we need to use it in the inner surface? Because the shiny surface, in fact, it is the poor absorber and radiator. Okay, poor absorber and also radiator. So as they are a poor absorber and also radiator, then in this case, it will helps, okay, the trapping of heat energy inside the thermal bag. So in this case, the thermal energy could not, but it will reduce the thermal energy uh, uh, emitted, okay, through the bag, okay, emitted through the bag. So, and secondly, why we will use the foam material? Foam material, in fact, it is some type of plastic. So, in fact, we notice that plastic, in fact, it is also a type of good insulator of heat. So therefore, okay, why, okay, we will use it because it is a good insulator of heat. And C, okay, the thermal bag is always exposed as under the direct sunlight. Suggests whether the outer materials of the thermal bag should be in a dark color or it should be a lighter color. So explain your answer. So remember that the thermal bag, why we need to use the thermal bag? Because sometimes, okay, we would like to keep the cold food, or we would like to keep the food that is in a cooler temperature, or we do not want to have uh, um, change, okay, the temperature, change the temperature a lot vigorous, okay, or during the cold, changed by the environmental factors or changed by the room temperature. So in this case, rather than having a dark color, but it would be light color would be a lot more suitable. So why light color would be more suitable? This is because the light color, in fact, it will, the light color, in fact, it is a type of poor, or it is a good absorber or radiator. In fact, it would be a poor absorber and also radiator. So they are the poor radiator. Sorry, it should be the poor emitter. Maybe use a better term, okay? Absorber and emitter. Then in this case, it can maintain the temperature of the food, okay, in a longer time. So in this case, we can see that it is important for us to have the light color because it somehow can trap the heat, or it can trap the it can keep, okay, the same the temperature in a constant way for a longer time. So for question number 4, okay, we will try to study the Sankey diagram below for a lamp. Okay, for a lamp, so meaning that there would be 2 types of energy, light energy and also the thermal energy. Then in this case, based on the graph, okay, so how many boxes, okay, how many boxes that we have in total before for the energy input, okay, then we will notice that in fact there is total of 10 boxes. Okay, so in this case, as they have 10 boxes and each small boxes represent 5 joule. So meaning that total, the energy input would be 5 times 10 joule, then that means total 50 joule. Then for energy X, in fact, it consists of 8 boxes. Then in this case, this means that the energy X will have 40 joule in total. While we can see that for energy Y, in fact, it just only have 2 boxes. Then in this case, it would be 10 joule in total, because 2 boxes, 2 times 5 would be 10. So which of the above energy is the useful energy output? So definitely there is no any term for energy X. So meaning that energy X would be the preferred one for us to have the useful energy output. So please remember that if the energy term, meaning that it would be a type of waste. So if it is straightforward, then in this case, it would be the energy output, the useful energy output, or the energy output that we want. So next, suggest the forms of energy X and Y respectively. So in this case, X would be light energy because it is the things that we would like to have for the lamp, right? So next, Y would be the thermal energy. Okay, so because we noticed that the thermal energy would be the energy loss or the waste. But please be remember that, okay, for the when we try to have the turn, okay, the thickness or the width of the turn should be maintained the same throughout the whole turn, okay, or whole spin, okay. Next, for question number 5, a spoonful of coffee powder is added into the water. After stirring it, a cup of coffee is formed. Okay, so in this case, the solute, definitely the coffee powder, the solvent would be the water, and they form the solution. So the coffee would be the solution. So what will happen to the coffee powder after dissolving in water? Explain your answer by using the particle theory. So we notice that, in fact, when we talk about the particle theory, so the particle theory, we are somehow related to the coffee particles. So the coffee particles, in fact, it will first move apart, okay? The coffee particles will first move apart. Move apart, okay? Move apart and mixed with the water particle. Okay, so as they mix with the water particles, so in this case, they try to start dissolving, but eventually the dissolving process will stop at a certain point. Why? Because the solid particles are evenly distributed. Then we will say that, in fact, it is completely dissolved. So in this case, the second statement here would be the coffee powder will evenly, sorry, not the coffee powder, but the coffee particle, sorry. The coffee particle will evenly distributed amount the water particle. Okay, so the coffee particles were evenly distributed, okay? So in this case, okay, they are completely dissolved. So the Mabao said that, a student said that, okay, the total mass of the solute and also solvent would be more than 50 grams during dissolving. Do you agree? So definitely it would not agree. Why? Because the total mass of solute and solvent, it would not increase. For example, we only have 20 grams of coffee powder and also 30 grams of water. Then in this case, in fact, it should be the sum, okay, of these two, but rather than more than that, there is no any other substance is created. So in this case, the mass will be conserved. Okay, the mass will be conserved. So in this case, because the mass of solute and solvent would be conserved. So in this case, okay, it should be equals to 50 grams, but not more than 50 grams. Okay. So next, for question number 6, we try to add. Okay, we try to add. Delete. Okay, so we try to add 30 identical metal beads and put it into the rectangular tank of water. Then in this case, the water levels rise from 10 cm to 13 cm. Then in this case, based on the above information, then we need to find out the volume of each bead. Then this is some mathematical calculations. Then how can we find it out? Then easy, okay? We increase, okay, how many? 3 cm, right? Increase the 3 cm. So meaning that the 3 cm times 5 cm and also times 5 cm would be equals to the total volume of 30 beads. Okay, the 30 metal beads. Okay, so in this case, okay, let us try to copy it. Okay, so 3 times 5 times 5. So in this case, it would be 75. Okay, 75 cm cube. Okay, maybe I use a better one. Okay, I use a better one, maybe easier for you in understanding. 5 times 5 times 13 minus 10, because we find out the difference, the increase in volume. So because after we have add the 30 metal beads, in fact, there is increase in the water level. So these increase of the water levels, in fact, would be equals to the increase in the total volume. And this also indicate it is the volume of the 30 beads, okay? Then, but this time, this 75, in fact, it would be the 30 beads, okay? The volume of the 30 beads. Then each of them, 1 bit, okay? The volume of 1 bit, then how can we find it out? Then in this case, we can just simply use 75 divided by 30, then therefore it should be 2.5 cm cube. Okay. So then next, okay, okay, so now, okay, if we notice that, okay, the total mass would be 840 gram for these 30 bits. Then the density would be, in fact, it would be how many? Then it would be very easy. Okay, we just try to divide it. Okay, divide it. Then we use 840 gram divided by 30. Then we can know each mass of the bead. Then the amount should be around 28 gram divided by 2.5 cm cube. Then therefore the density would be equals to 11.2 gram per cm cube. Okay, that means each density. That means, sorry, each metal bit's density. So now, okay, explain why 30 bits would be used rather than only 1 bit. Because if we try to add 1 bit, then we can directly measure or directly calculate. Okay, no need to do a lot of calculations. This is because if we just add 1 bit, in fact, we just increase 2.5 cm cube. If we find out the water level, the increase in water levels, in fact, is very, very minimal. What does this mean? Okay, I use 2.5 divided by 5 and divided by 5, then we can find out the total amount of the water level that is increased would be 2.5 divided by 5 divided by 5, then it will be 0.1 cm increase. We just increase 0.1 cm if we add 1 bit. Then in this case, it is very difficult for us to measure or to show a significant increase, because this could be this 0.1 cm can be fluctuated based on the shaking maybe of the table, okay, or maybe shaking of your hands. Then in this case, we could not really sure how much is it. So it would be better for us to add more so that we can have a larger sample size so that we can give a measurable rise for the water levels, okay? Then C, okay, so C, in fact, it is quite difficult. So what does this mean? This means that, in fact, if the beads are carelessly put into the water in the above experiment. So what does this mean? We try to reset up again. Then in this case, the bead are carelessly put into the water tank. Then in this case, the water will be splashed out from the tank. So in this case, is the density will be calculated higher or lower? Then maybe let us think about the volume. So now, okay, we redo it again. We redo it again. So once we redo it again, okay. So in this case, okay, we try to add the bit, okay, inside it. Then in this case, that will be splashed out, okay. So originally, it may be 13 cm. But now, what happened? The total volume, it would be changed into 12 cm, okay? Because it splashed out, right? Then this means that it will be a problem because the total volume would be smaller. Okay, the total volume would be smaller. Okay, the total volume would be smaller. As the total volume would be smaller, but mass unchanged, then this means that the density that we calculate would be higher, okay? The density would be higher, okay? So in this case, we can see that, okay? We can see that, okay? In fact, the decrease in volume will give rise to a higher density. So therefore, if you see from the answer, then it tells you, okay, it's smaller than 75 cm cube. Then in this case, the density of the bit would be higher than the result, okay, higher than the result. And please help me to delete the true volume. I mean, delete the true and also the actual. The actual density. It should be just the density, okay, not the actual, okay. It's just the density from the answer. Okay, so this would be the debriefing for section E. So I hope, okay, you can get some insight on the exam. Okay, so just get mentally prepared because most of the question will be similar to question number C. Okay, at all for tomorrow. Thank you very much.